Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to join you this morning, even if it is by videotape. When the conference was scheduled, I had made a previous commitment to go to Moscow, Russia with Dr. Lanny Endicott from Oral Roberts University to work with some churches in Moscow on their foster care system. They're trying to create a situation where their orphanages can actually become less prominent as a way to care for children so that foster families in homes in their church can become a more prominent way to care for children. So that's where I am today. I'm sorry I'm not able to be there with you. When Ben Knuckles and Trevor Williams asked me to speak and bring you up to speed over the last 13 and a half years or so that I've had the honor of serving as the director of the department, they asked me to speak about basically the size of the problem in foster care, the size of the number of children that have been served by foster care, and really what's involved in being a foster parent, primarily having your roots in the church. So we'll talk a little bit about those things at first. As you know, there are a little more than 8,000 children in foster care, but there are 12,000 children who have been adopted out of foster care who are still children in our state. More than 16,000 children were adopted out of foster care over the 13 and a half years or so that I was honored to serve as the director. But some of those children have aged on out and become adults. We still have today a little over 12,000 children who are living in Oklahoma or living somewhere with their families that were adopted out of the Oklahoma child welfare system. I would estimate there's probably another 18,000 children who are still children, maybe 20,000 children who are still children, who have been reunified with their parents and are no longer in foster care. So when you put the 8,000 children who are in care with the 12,000 that have already been adopted out of care and the 20,000 that have been reunited, there's approximately 40,000 of Oklahoma's 912,000 children who have today or have had some contact with the Oklahoma child welfare system. Oklahoma has been privileged to have a wonderful adoption program as a result of the efforts that have happened over the last decade. We rank number one in the nation per capita for adopting children out of foster care, almost twice the national average. So there's been a strong effort to get children to permanency. Nevertheless, we actually send more children back home to be reunited after their parents remove the conditions that caused their child to need to come into care, at least temporarily. So that's kind of a statistical array. The number of people and the stories of families that have been affected is infinity. It's really wonderful. I remember a girl that my daughter played high school softball with, even as a high schooler, because of her situation in her family became intolerable. She wanted to come into foster care. She was brought into foster care. She actually did a wonderful job in the independent living program, graduated from high school, went on to play little college, junior college softball. I ran into her just a few weeks ago in a parking lot, and she rolled her window down and called my name and said, "How are you doing?" And so she was doing very well. She had married, had 2 children. And many of the stories that come through our child welfare system are like this. Many kids do very well. They have a lot of resilience. They need a respite or some break from their families before they can get reconciled, or there's circumstances which are irreconcilable, and they need to get on to a healthy future. So it's really a joy to see all the stories, most all the stories. Not all the stories are a joy. Some of the stories are painful. Some of the stories involve children who have experienced extreme pain of all kinds. And learning how to be a good listener, how to be a supportive person, and a supportive person to their parents in the cases where they're going to be reunified is a very important part of the role of a foster parent. There's always this question of tension between church and state. What's the role of the church? What's the role of the state in this situation? And certainly there is a separation of church and state. But is the separation a line of demarcation, or is the separation an iron curtain of such where we can't even talk to each other? I think we have come to believe that it is a line of demarcation. We're neighbors, and we should be able to take care of our neighbors regardless of what our circumstances are. And so while we do honor the faith preferences of children and their parents, we also recognize that in some cases children don't have a faith preference, and their parents don't have a faith preference. And so for the faith community who wants to step up and be involved in those kind of circumstances, those spiritual maturing opportunities for children are a welcomed opportunity. And it's really a great opportunity for the church to fulfill its mission. And that's what it's all about, because as the good book says, the real work of following the Lord is taking care of widows and orphans. And we're honored to be part of that work in the Department of Human Services, as is the church, in caring for these families who are really struggling. The challenge for family formation is also significant. Today, more than half of all children in America born to mothers under 30 are now born to mothers who are not married to the father of their child. Family deconstruction is in a serious state of which needs a lot of creativity, a lot of prayer, a lot of innovation to really get children back to the value of having both of their parents. We know that children who get the benefit of both of their parents live in poverty at much lower rates. Less than 10% of all children living with both of their parents are living in poverty. About 40% of all children who are living in single-parent households are living in poverty. So it's very significant. That doesn't mean that children who are living in single-parent households can't make it. There are many heroes of single parents who are making it and working a determined life to take care of their kids and doing a great job. And they are heroes. But when we talk about what's generally best for kids on average, kids who get the benefit of both their parents graduate at higher rates from high school, go on to college at higher rates, and have healthier futures. We're trying to continue to improve our families in our state, and certainly the role of the church in stepping up and making that happen is wonderful and greatly appreciated. Finally, Trevor and Ben talked to me about the creation of an award and that they have named for me. It was something, a bit of a surprise for me and quite humbling, candidly. But they had already selected the person that they chose to receive the award. And they asked me to take a moment to share with you what I know about this person, which is he is a terrific advocate for children, and he is a terrific employee of our department. Mark Youngblood, when I came to the department 13 and a half years ago, was a manager in our data services division. And over the years, he worked his way up the management chain of command in the data services division until he became the director of the data services division. And that is a significant responsibility. Actually, the data services department in the Department of Human Services conducts more transactions than all the other data systems in the entire state government. So having that kind of breadth of responsibility, modernizing that division. I mean, when I went to the department 13 and a half years ago, there was no website. There was no email outside the agency. And to bring all of the innovation that has happened through the department and through technology over the years, much of the framework for that innovation was developed by Mark Youngblood. Well, Mark eventually became our Chief Information Officer. And when our Chief Operating Officer retired 5 years ago or so, as I looked at Mark's academic background, he actually had an academic background in human services. And since he knew how technology works so well, we chose to move him to our Chief Operating Officer position. Even though it has a lot of programmatic responsibility, has more than 4,000 employees in the chain of command, has all of foster care, all of food stamps, all of Medicaid eligibility, an enormous responsibility for our state. More than 1 million people a year will get some service for at least 1 month. So it was a significant responsibility for him to step over there. But having the understanding of how technology works, it made perfect sense for him to figure out how to use the technology within the operations. And that's been very vital because we have had a significant challenge as a result of the Great Recession, as all of us know. Not since the Great Depression have we had the kind of economic strain that we're experiencing today. 40% increase in the number of persons receiving food assistance over the last 3 years. So in 36 months, a 40% growth in the number of persons receiving assistance. In the last year, 40% of all children in the state received food assistance for at least 1 month. And 30% of the children received food assistance. They may be different kids, but every month, at least 30% of the children in the state were getting some food assistance. So having all of those systems working in place, all the while our budgets were being cut. The number of people we were hiring were being reduced. Our health insurance was going up. Our retirement costs were going up. So we were cutting even more people. Today, the department has the fewest employees we've ever had, a little over 7,000 employees, and we have the heaviest demand we've ever had. That could not have happened without Mark's leadership. That's Mark's work at the department. Mark's work on the weekends and at nights is as the pastor of a church in inner city Oklahoma City. Mark is a true brother in the Lord, and it's been a joy to work with Mark. I count him a very close friend, and I'm honored that Trevor and Ben thought an award named for me should be presented to him. And Mark, congratulations to you. It's all very well deserved. Thank you very much.